Hello, everyone. I'm Chenny, the product owner of Test3 app. Philip is CEO and founder of XBuildSoft. His company, XBuildSoft, is quite professional in software testing industry, including the automation testing, performance testing, manual testing, etc. Philip is a recognized expert in software quality and usability with a PhD in the field and numerous publications to his name. He's also a passionate speaker who has helped hundreds of organizations improving their software development processes. I know him very well for the past 2 decades. He is a very nice person who loves his family, his friends, his employee, and loves sports very much, especially cycling and traveling. Now let's jump right into the exciting world of CI/CD Agile projects with Jira. Now I'll pass it to you, Phil. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Cheney. You forgot to mention that we did a great bike ride this past weekend, and then we're going to do another one on Saturday. So yeah, I like to share. I like to share my passion of cycling as well as my passion of doing all this technical, nerdy stuff as well. And I'm surprised that you mentioned that I have a PhD, Cheney. Thanks for mentioning that. But you know, I always wondered why people put PhD on their business card, and especially when I didn't have my PhD. And after I got my PhD, I realized that, geez, it's really, really hard to get that PhD. I can understand why people want to have it on their card, but I still don't do it. I don't want people to think of, I'm some really nerdy guy that can't talk. So I don't put PhD on my card. But I do have over 20 years of experience in working with many software companies and helping them to improve their software processes. And in particular, along the way, we've developed a really good relationship with Goldfinger and working with them on their test management product, which is a plugin for Jira in test management, and we use the plugin internally. And so we're very familiar with using that plugin as well as integrating it with other aspects and other plugins of Jira to make a continuous process for CI/CD. And so that's what today's talk is about. So let's dig right in here. So the question is, and I'm sure there's a lot of problem statements that can come out of this, right? How can Agile projects balance rapid development, changing requirements, and the need for rapid deployment to deliver high quality software? And of course, you see those keywords in there. Rapid is a keyword, changing is a keyword, efficiently is a keyword, and of course, high quality is another keyword. And I think that sometimes, especially with Agile, you start focusing on speed and then you sacrifice or maybe forget about quality. And the big question is always with our clients is, how do we fit testing into Agile, right? And we're going to cover some of that today and how you can do that with CI/CD and what we term continuous testing and how that fits into CI/CD. Oh yeah, by the way, if you have questions, please put them in the chat panel or question panel, and Cheney can raise his hand and interrupt me. So this slide is just very simple. There's many different tool suites out there that help you out with CI/CD. Azure is one of them. Atlassian we're going to be covering today. And then there's lots of others as well. So CI/CD, what's missing? Everybody has this term CI/CD, right? And so I think I think testing is assumed to be part of this. And so, what's missing is really testing goes in between as part of deployment and as part of integration. And so what we're going to be showing today and discussing is how to use the Atlassian tool set to help you to do your continuous integration with your deployment and inserting that testing in the places where it belongs, along with using other tools within the Atlassian tool set, like Bamboo and some others. And we're also going to be giving you some options of other tools that we've worked with along the way with many of our clients. So to get CI, continuous integration and continuous testing to work together, the first thing we really want to think about is automation. And so everybody talks about automation and usually think about automation at the user interface level, but there's all kinds of automation, right? So automation can happen in unit testing, it can happen in integration testing, and then you really have to be thinking about automation at all types of automation, not just, Selenium or something like that, right? And then once we get these things working together, of course, we're able to prevent bugs as well as enable communication, because when we can raise these problems and raise these issues earlier in development, then that's going to help us get fast feedback and optimize our processes. So what is continuous integration and how does continuous testing fit into it? And if you look on the left side of this graphic here, you see that the CI tool. Probably what you're familiar with is the CI/CD tool and having it generate a build and then having that go to production. There's a lot of steps that go in between that. So going from the CI tool and then deploying to production, it has to go through some other steps, right? So you'll see on the right-hand side, unit testing, static analysis or code analysis, as well as deploying to different environments for different purposes, right? So deploying to the QA environment, and you may have a different environment for performance testing and security testing, right? Because your QA environment may not represent exactly what your users are going to be experiencing. So you have a different environment for performance. And then all of this must happen each time code is generated and before it's deployed to production. Let's talk about using CI/CD tools for Agile projects. So on the left-hand side, you see the CI tools. Developers are integrating their code, putting them into a shared repository, using configuration management. Every time they put code into the branch, then that is verified by automated build and integrated together with the other code. And then you can get immediate feedback on the health of the application and know exactly where something broke, right? That's why you want to do these integrations frequently, so that you know exactly, oh, we put this piece of code in and it broke, and you know right away what piece of code caused it to break, right? And then on the CT side, we want to execute tests automatically at the different levels of testing, right? So we have testing, functional testing, performance testing, and so on. And this way we can integrate testing directly into the development environment and speed up the continuous feedback cycle. So we're no longer having a really long regression at the end of a cycle or at the end of a sprint. A lot of our clients have a big issue with, regression's still taking us so long. Well, that's because they're not doing testing all the way along. Every time they have a build or change code, we should be running these automated tests all the time. Not to say that regression testing is not required, but it certainly should be a supplement rather than the only type of testing that you do. Today, we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned earlier, using the Atlassian toolset and how that works with CI/CD, and Jira to implement continuous testing. So you can see that this one row on the bottom here, Bitbucket, Bamboo, JUnit with Atlassian as a release tool, and then we also use Jira combined with the Amazon cloud to help us deploy our software. You'll see on the bottom there that there's some options that we've worked with other clients that have different tool sets that they use. And so you can pick and choose which particular tools you use at different phases of the. Now let's talk a little bit now about setting up a CI/CD pipeline inside Jira. So you can see here in this particular example, SRTC 2340 is the Jira ticket. In this case, it's a defect which needs to be fixed, tested, and deployed into production. And the screenshot, what we're showing here is a piece of code that will fix the issue. I wanted to do like a real live demo here, but you know how live demos work, that they always get messed up somehow. So we're just going to have screenshots here. And later on, if you have a particular question, we can solve that offline, or we can give a demo at another time. This is the Jira view of the code. So it shows how the code fix for SRTC 2340 is committed inside Jira. So the user will read Jira when the fix is committed, and it is determined that it's ready for testing. That'll show up inside the Jira ticket through the integration with Bucket. Now you can see here what we've shown is after the code is committed and fixed, then it goes into the test environment, and this shows how the build is deployed from the Bamboo point of view, and then deployed inside the QA environment. Remember I showed earlier how we wanted to have these different environments, one for QA. So this shows how we've deployed from Bamboo into QA. This is another view. It shows how the build is deployed from the Jira view of that particular defect, SRTC 2340. And in this case, the build is done for the dev instance. And the build, that's why the build number is not quite the same, because the other instance had a different build number. This shows that automation needs to be done once the build is deployed. Then we need to work on the JUnit testing, and this shows the JUnit testing done from the Bamboo point of view. And then what you can see here is that inside Jira, we've got these JUnit tests being tracked inside Jira, and it shows that when they finish, if we run them again, and so on, it shows what the results were at the bottom, that some passed and some failed. This way we can see the reports, we can see the integration, the results coming back from Bamboo into Jira, and then we can analyze results and do some reporting. Once we're done with all that, that's when you finally deploy to production, right? And so this shows deploying to production after passing through the testing phase and going into, you can see, putting it into a different environment there. This shows release tool, and for our particular example here, we use the Atlassian Marketplace release tool, where you can upload your different builds or versions, and then you can use the tool to do release management, and end users will get a notification once a new version is released. So you can see here in this particular screenshot the different versions that have been released and the summary of those versions. Lastly, of course, once you get something deployed, then you want to monitor it, right? And so for us, we use AWS Console to monitor any problems that we have, tickets, services, and so on. And we can get the status from the AWS API in real time. So this auto workflow was configured for a Jira ticket. So once the service is down, or if the service is down and meets certain threshold criteria, like a number of seconds down and so on, then we get an email notification sent out to different teams. Here's an example of those email notifications, and we can see we have a current threshold target of 100%, and it shows the current level over the last 15 minutes, and therefore we got a notification. Now this shows Slack alerts as well, so we can integrate Jira and the AWS console into Slack to show alerts and notifications here as well. Automated testing. You've got to have automated testing and probably automated testing is the wrong word. You have to have automation inside CI pipelines, right? So automation at every level, everywhere from developing end-to-end tests to developing unit tests, to automating, putting things together, and so on. So, and I think one of the most important things that people forget is the use of automated reporting tools to throw out results and thresholds, like I showed earlier. Because if you don't have automated reporting tools showing the results of what's going on, then you're still in the dark, even though you may have automation. You still have to know when it's not going to work, right? So we've got many case studies across different industries, and we've worked with a lot of different companies. And I think I put in bold here, as the company grew, right? And the reason I put as the company grew is because when you're a small company and you have 2 or 3 developers working beside each other and communicating directly, a lot of these problems don't come up. But what happens is when you have different locations and say more than 5 or 6 developers, and you have 10 developers working in 2 locations, then you end up having a lot of these issues and problems. And so what we've done with in this particular example, with a small or mid-sized development firm, a development firm meaning a company that produces software as their product, we were able to help them to accelerate their software delivery and integrate CI/CD with testing using Jira for project management into their tool set. You can see some of the tools that we were able to deploy and help them with. And so, as you can imagine, integrating these tools together and getting them to work together does require some time, takes some configuration, and it takes some expertise. But it's worth the effort to put in use these tools, and really deploy them and integrate them together rather than using them out of the box and separate. These are some of the results that we were able to achieve in terms of reducing the defects found in production. Builds per day is important, right? So going from 1 build a day to 10 builds per day and being able to integrate the testing with each of those builds is critical if you're going to be delivering fast and testing your code at every production. Code quality using Sonar Cube, we're able to increase the quality of the code and decrease the complexity of the code as well. And of course, some of these qualitative outcomes at the end in terms of collaboration, early bug detection, and faster delivery are just some of the great outcomes we're able to achieve. Now, we're able to achieve this in a software company, but really the problems in other industries, they may have some particular things. So for example, healthcare has issues with compliance and regulation, but a lot of them have the same issues, and that is speeding up deployment and putting in testing into the whole deployment process. So let me summarize here. I think we're getting close to time here. Well, they say cross your I's and dot your T's. Cross your T or dot your I's. I think we've shown today that continuous testing is a critical component of CI/CD, and it's often forgotten. A lot of folks have problems inserting testing into Agile, and they save up testing. They run it like a mini waterfall, right? And that's really, you're really missing some of the advantages of Agile by doing that. And if you can use some of these tools that are there in the market and choose best of breed tools for different parts of your pipeline, then you can integrate testing into the entire process. And so today I hope that we've shown that how we can integrate the Atlassian tool set and give an example of the different pieces that we use in this example for a pipeline. We gave examples of other tools. You may have a corporate standard of a tool that you use. And we've shown how we can use Jira to integrate testing into the pipeline. I think that's all I have formally to present today. Are there any questions?
So the question is, how testing is done in your pipeline? Could you please tell us more, Philip?
Okay. Well, we use JUnit testing set up by our development team, and then once the testing is passed in terms of JUnit and unit testing, then the code is allowed to be merged into the main branch. And then we also have a Jira plugin app called TestRay, which is integrated with Jira so that test cases and menu executions are managed inside Jira as well. And the automation results are passed to Jira through that integration through a REST API. Now, since the defects and the dev tasks are also inside Jira, they're all connected together. In other words, traceability from the development tasks to the test cases to the test results and defects are all done within the Jira and TestRay app integration. And so it starts from JUnit testing, and then I showed earlier how the JUnit testing and the results of that are also passed into Jira. So everything is all in one place.
Okay, here comes the second one. And this audience is quite interesting. He give you some feedback and asked one question. Okay, let me repeat his question. He mentioned that I saw that you have a monitor process in your slide. It looks pretty good. And what action and criteria you will take if your server is down or something like that? Could you please expand a little bit for that?
Sure. As I showed in the other slides, we have a Jira ticket created to monitor server status. And so the notification with an alert is sent via email and Slack. Now the server down is a priority 1 for us. So we have a internal incident management workflow. So remember in Jira, you can set up workflows, right? And the team and the issue must be resolved within 30 minutes. So we have an engineer at all times, 7/24, that monitors this process. And whenever they get a notification where the server is down more than 30 seconds, then they're ready to go.
Okay, thanks for your answer, Phil. Looks like there's no more other question. Okay. Thank you very much, Phil. Thanks
Sure,
again for all you guys. Yep. Go ahead, Carson. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I just wanted to show my last slide, which is, thank you, everyone. If there's no more questions, we'll end the webinar for today. And I hope that you've learned a few things. I know that we went very, very fast, and we're just showing some screenshots. If you'd like a demo of how to set this up, we can do that for you via TestRay, and they can give you a demo of how all these things are integrated together. Again, you will receive a recording and slides from today's webinar. So thank you for coming today, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks very much. Take care.